Hello and welcome to this video in the SQL review series where we will be discussing the where clause primarily in combination with the select statement. This query will return a projection of columns from the person table in the person schema in the AdventureWorks 2012 database. Very frequently, however, we are not interested in returning all rows. We want a subset of rows, and this will involve performing a select operation using the where clause. The where clause always immediately follows the from clause. In the where clause, we will provide conditions, at least one condition, but possibly more than one condition. A condition is a statement that evaluates to true or false. So it is an expression that we will write whereby SQL Server can determine if a row meets that condition or does not meet the condition. Usually this is going to be done using comparisons, but there are other special functions that will allow us to evaluate something to true or false. All the rows that match the conditions will be included in the result set. Other rows will be excluded. As you can see, the email promotion field is a perfect candidate for some operations because it is an integer field and so it's easy to understand. It also has limited values. So looking at our first condition, we can use the email promotion field, and we will use the field name as it's specified in the table, not in its alias form. So we can use email promotion equals 0. This will take any rows from the person table where the value of the email promotion field is 0. In other words, it will exclude values that are 1 or 2. This is a very common way to write conditions. We have a field name followed by a comparison operator and then followed by a literal value. It is possible to write this same condition in the opposite way, where 0 equals email promotion. This will result in the exact same result set. However, it is not very common to write it like this. We will generally prefer to put the field name first and then provide the value. Let's use equals 1 to see some different result sets. Now, in many cases, and certainly in the cases of numeric values, we may not be looking just for equality. We may be looking for greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, or even not equal to. So by changing the comparison operator, in this case to not equal to, I will get email promotion values 0 and 2, but not 1. I could be looking for anything greater than 1, which in this particular example would return all of the values 2. We could look for greater than or equal to 1, or we could look for less than 1, or less than or equal to 1. So these are the basic comparison operators that we've just illustrated: equal to, not equal to, less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Now we can apply the same principles not just to numeric field values, but also to text field values or character field values, such as first name. And again, remember that we will use the name of the field as it's specified in the table, not its alias form. We might be looking for first name Dylan. Now, if we're looking for character data, we will need to include our literal values between single quotes. And here is a list of all the people in our database with the first name equal to Dylan. We might also look for first name not equal to Dylan. So the comparison operators are the same regardless of their use for integer or numeric values or character data. Now, we might also be faced with a situation whereby we are looking for a value in more than one column. For example, we may be looking for a person with first name Dylan, but whose last name is Miller. In that case, we will need to be creating compound conditions, whereby we write more than one condition, and those conditions are going to be combined together using boolean operators and or. So we can write a condition like this. Now we are looking for people named Dylan Miller, and as it turns out, there is more than one Dylan Miller. We might also be looking for people named Dylan Miller where we have an email promotion value of 0. So we can keep creating conditions, and we have to just ensure that the entire where clause will evaluate to true or false. Because in this case I have used the AND operator, we will be looking for rows where all of those conditions are true. So the first name has to equal Dylan, the last name has to equal Miller, and the email promotion value has to equal 0. That is what an AND operator will do. All of the conditions have to evaluate to true in order for the entire where clause to evaluate to true. Now, we could also use the OR operator, which works differently. In this case, only the first condition or the second condition has to evaluate to true. So in other words, we're looking for people with the first name Dylan or with the last name Miller. So we have lots of Dylans, but their last name is not Miller. And we have lots of Millers, but their first name is not Dylan. And of course, there is also likely to be a Dylan Miller in this result set. Or actually, all of our Dylan Millers are included in this result set. So in order for a where clause to evaluate to true when using an OR boolean operator, only either one of my conditions must evaluate to true, or they might both evaluate to true, and that row would still be included. Now, the tricky part comes in when we start combining and OR, such as this. SQL Server will evaluate the AND condition first. So in other words, what will happen is that we are now going to return people whose first name is Dylan or whose last name is Miller, but then their email promotion has to be equal to 0. So in other words, for someone to be included in this result set, their first name could be Dylan regardless of what their last name is and regardless of what their email promotion value is. But if we want someone with last name Miller to be included in the result set, regardless of their first name, the email promotion value has to be 0. Let's look at the output and look at some examples. So I have a Dylan Miller with email promotion value of 2. This row is included because the first name is Dylan. The last name is Miller, but the email promotion is not equal to 0. So this row is included because of this portion of the condition. Now, I also have lots of Millers included whose email promotion value equals 0. This person, Emilio Miller, is included not because his first name is Dylan, because it's not, but because the last name is Miller and the email promotion is 0. Now here we have another example of someone whose first name is Dylan, last name is Miller, and email promotion is 1. Once again, this person is included because of the first name Dylan. Their last name and their email promotion did not matter. Now it's important to understand that when you start combining and or conditions in this where clause, that the position of your and operator becomes important. This is going to give me a different result set than what I had before. Now I am saying that somebody's first name should be Dylan and their email promotion should be 0 for them to be included, or simply their last name should be Miller. So let's look at some examples. Dylan Miller with an email promotion value of 2 is included because the last name equals Miller. However, we have some Dylans who will be included, such as Dylan Hughes, because their email promotion is 0. So row 30 is included because this part of the condition holds true. So even though I'm including the same conditions and the same boolean operators, because of the order in which they're specified, I have a different result set. Now I can change the order in which this is executed using parentheses. Remember, the AND conditions will always be evaluated first. It does not matter if they show first in the where clause or if they show last. But by using parentheses around my OR operator and its conditions, I'm going to be evaluating them first. So what's going to happen now is that I'm going to get people whose first name is Dylan. That is a requirement. The first name has to be Dylan. And in addition to that, their email promotion value has to be 0, or their last name could be Miller. So I'm seeing Dylan Millers with an email promotion value that is different from 0, but all of the other Dylans in the list have an email promotion value of 0. So this has once again created a significantly different result set than what I've seen before. So we've looked in this video at where clauses. The content of the where clause will consist out of conditions. Conditions are expressions that evaluate to true or false. Most of the time, and in this video we have seen only examples using comparisons, but there are other options as well. In order for a row to be selected, we need to make sure it matches the entire condition. The field names in the where clause need to be the field names as specified in the table, not the alias names. In order to combine multiple conditions, I will use Boolean logic operators and or. Remember, and is always evaluated first unless I'm using parentheses. These concepts about the where clause and creating conditions do not apply just to the select statement, they also apply to update and delete statements. Thank you for watching.